All right, MIS 102 students, here we are, Chapter 1, The Importance of MIS. This is a publisher-provided PowerPoint. You can download it in its entirety on our Canvas site. This is an abridged version that just touches over some of the key topics. This is not a substitute from downloading the PowerPoint in its entirety and looking it over. So let's jump right into it. Why is Introduction to MIS, or in this case, MIS 102, the most important class in the business school? That's a loaded statement, and I'll even expand it. Why is this going to be one of the most important classes you take? No matter what your major is, health science, business, English, humanities, you're going to be working with technology. Technology is going to make your job easier. It's going to apply to everything you do. We're still in a digital revolution. Technology is always advancing. It's always getting better, and it's always being absorbed into more parts of our daily life. You really need to understand what's going on out there because it's going to affect your careers. We got some forces that change technology, and we've got different laws just like everything else. And I'm sure you're familiar with Moore's law or has at least heard of it. The textbook definition is the number of transistors per square inch in an integrated chip double every 18 months. What does that really mean? Computers are getting faster, all right? The cost of data processing is approaching zero. The cost of storing data is approaching zero. This is why cloud computing is becoming so prevalent. Many businesses don't have servers on site anymore. The company I work for, we don't even have an IT staff anymore. All of our data processing, all of our storage is off-site on the cloud. It's becoming so cheap and reliable that there's no need to have it on site anymore. That is more costly than cloud computing. So how will MIS affect me? Well, let's look at Bell's law. Today's highly successful businesses could be bankrupt quickly because technology changed and it didn't. Let's look at Blockbuster. There was a time where if you wanted to watch a video at home, you'd have to go to a store, look through the aisles, pick the video up, rent it, take it home, have 3 to 4 days to watch it, and you'd have to go return it. Blockbuster dominated the home rental business. In 2004, Blockbuster had $5.9 billion in revenue. 6 years later, they went bankrupt. Why? Netflix came on the scene. From day one, Netflix innovated home rental. Initially, you'd go to the Netflix website, you would pick the movies you want, and they would mail you the DVD, and you'd mail it back. Done. That was it. That alone was revolutionary. But Netflix realized that broadband internet is becoming more and more accessible to everybody. The computers that they use are more powerful than ever. Let's not give them physical media anymore. Let's just stream it. This allowed consumers to watch videos when they wanted, where they wanted. This was a groundbreaking revolution in video rental. This was something that Blockbuster did not anticipate and was slow to change. Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy because they could not change with technology. Hey, bottom line of this course, you need to be aware that MIS is taking everything over. You need to have the background needed to assess, evaluate, and apply emerging information system technologies to businesses, and I'll even expand that to your personal life. But what is MIS? What is Management Information System? Well, we got some key elements. And we got to manage and use these systems. We have the information systems themselves. And I think this is the broadest part because that could be almost anything. That could be an access database. That could be an online program or an offline program you're using. Anything you interact with. If you worked at a supermarket, your cash register system, that's the information system. Facebook is an information system. Information systems are everywhere. But a common theme is the 5-component framework. This is the backbone of information systems. So let's look at something that all of you are probably familiar with. ATMs. You walk up to the machine itself, that's your hardware. You have an interface system, your touch screen typically, or some buttons. You have the slot to put your card in. That is the hardware of the system. That's just the hardware you interact with. But there's also hardware at the bank. There's hardware in between that all these ATM networks talk to. Well, there's the software. That's the program you interface with. That tells you how much money's in your bank. That tells you how much you can take out, and also tells the bank how much you took out. If there's a fee involved, all of that is transmitted through the software. Hardware and software all generate data. That data goes directly to your bank. It goes to your online bank account. Hey, how much money do I have? How much money did I withdraw? There's procedures that govern all of this. Banks have written documents on how ATMs work and how we process, how much fees are given, how much you can take out at a time. All of this is useless without people. People generate your inputs and they help with your outputs. You go to the ATM, you withdraw 40 bucks. As an input, that's an output. There are people working on every single stage of the 5-component framework. So what's the difference between information technology and information systems? Well, if you look at that Venn diagram there, IS is the middle. We need information technology, people, and procedures all working together to create an information system. Because your IT, that's your products, methods, standards. IT components are your hardware and software. All of this gets developed to make that information system. It is the pinnacle of everything that's working together on businesses or even in your personal life. Business professionals or any professional really need to understand that when you're developing an information system or you're changing your existing information systems, everybody needs to take an active role. This goes into software project management. You need to know how this system is constructed. We need to know what our users' needs are. I like to tell people, think of all your stakeholders. Think of everybody who's going to interact with this. What features do they need? If this is a data system for, let's say, a small company, well, we're selling stuff. We need to track our inventory. We need to know when things sell, how much it sells. There's finances attached to that. Now, there's also customer data for that too. If people have an online account with us, we have personal data. Anytime they use a payment method, that's another personal data. Well, what other requirements do we have? That last point on there, hey, security. If I have customers' personal data on my system, I need to make sure I protect it. Too often in the news, we see there's different break-ins at different companies, so many thousand credit card numbers stolen. You don't want to be the individual that doesn't have the forethought to apply proper security to any information system. But what's information? This is a very broad topic. Information can be anything. It's knowledge derived from data. Has to be meaningful in its context. It could be processed data. It could be raw data, charts, graphs. How we put this together really changes everything. Let's look at this chart here. So Amazon stock price and net income. Yeah, we have some lines. We have dollar figures over time. But is there really any useful information out of this? Not really. A graph is not information. It's data that people perceive and use to convey information. But the ability to conceive information is determined by your cognitive skills. Everybody's different. That chart is going to mean different things to different people. People perceive different information from the same data. You need to add some value to this. You really need to make the data come alive and be useful to everyone. We're going to learn a lot about in this course. And I know this was a pretty quick, high overview of it, but the text is going to go much more in depth. Finally, I want to touch on this, and this goes into MIS, but this also goes into personal use too. Just like we talked about keeping personal information safe or keeping your customers' information safe, there's some common sense things we can do. One of my side jobs at my company is I'm our security officer. I'm in charge of the physical security and the information security for us. Passwords are super, super important. If you follow these guidelines, you're going to have a really strong password. Companies will hire people called pen testers who will come in and try to hack the company deliberately. The easiest way is getting people's passwords. And there are phishing attacks for it and everything else, but honestly, people make mistakes. You can walk around an office and see passwords sticky noted under people's keyboards. A lot of times passwords are easily identifiable. They're your pet's names, they're common dates. So just doing some research on an individual, you can probably find their password out. When did they graduate high school? When did they graduate college? What's their dog's name? Do they have children? You can put all of this into a brute force dictionary and brute force the password. And what that means is A software would just randomly generate different passwords based on an algorithm you get it and keep logging in to try to get through. Never write down your password. Never ask somebody for the password, and never give your password to somebody. Companies are never going to email you and say, hey, change your password. That's not going to happen. And out of professional practice and common courtesy, do the little do-si-do move. If you're next to somebody who has to type in a password, look away. Let's be professional. All right, guys, hey, let's move on. Finish your assignments for this week. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. Best of luck.